Welcome guys to it's Al Maldonado, Bodyware Personal Training, coming to you live from my studio here in Pelham, New York. I want to welcome you guys. Today we got sort of a jam-packed episode. A lot of stuff, get a lot of questions during the course of my career, and I wrote a blog post sort of taking common questions and took time to answer, so I want to maybe go a little bit more in depth now with these questions and answer some of the questions you may have. And obviously at the end, if you feel I'd love to hear exactly more from you guys, write me, email. It's albert@pelhambodyware.com. Let me know what you think, ask me questions, comments, visit the website, pelhambodyware.com. You can also put your comments there too. I would say concerns for most people that I get a lot is it's not even a concept. It's just one of these things that people say, you know, how to get rid of my belly fat, how to get rid of the spare tie I have around my waist. And it's a question that for most people, you know, they grab themselves around their waist and say, how to get rid of this? And usually I go to the back and grab a cleaver and say, here, you know, this is the only way you can do it. But let me get to the crux of the matter and all. There's two types of body fat regarding the belly that you should be concerned. One is actually be very concerned. The other one is it's more of a cosmetic way of reducing it, that they can be reduced. And I'll get into that. The first fat to be concerned is it's called visceral fat, and that's the fat that's surrounding your organs. It can be your liver, stomach, just the major organs where you accumulate a lot of fat. That has the potential of being extremely dangerous, and obviously that's a fat that most people, you can be also thin, and you can be sort of have a lot of accumulation of visceral fat. That can lead to heart disease, diabetes, certain cancers. The other type of fat, which most people are referring to, is the subcutaneous, which is the one that you grab with your hands. And that in itself can only be reduced by diet or your food. Exercise definitely can help. As I've been saying in the past, it's ancillary to diet. But diet is the only way. So enough of this, do I have to do 1,000 crunches? Do I have to do core? Listen, that does not matter, you know? Doesn't matter. You can have the most killer abs, 6, 8, 12 pack, whatever it is. Nothing is gonna show if you have that subcutaneous fat over them. So it doesn't matter. And exercise like that is not gonna get rid of that. So take this big tip. You need to have yourself a diet where the calories obviously are a little less than you take in now, in moderation. Also, as I said, with the exercise, but it's the only way. So I just hope that I clarify that. So no more, I need to get rid of my belly fat, let's do some crunches for the next 30 minutes. No, doesn't work. All right, so I got another one here. Let's go into something that actually coincides with that. So you had the belly fat. Now, obviously now it's, people ask me, so Al, so I want to lose weight. Should I cut out carbs? Should I cut this out? Should I cut that out? Now, what's funny is that 20, 30 years ago, 70s and 80s, the biggest thing that people were avoiding, or the American Heart Association was saying avoid fats because of saturated fats can lead to heart disease. So the prescription for a healthy living was, you know, low-fat diet plus exercise. And as you know, years go by, they find out that that's a lot of BS. But nowadays, in the 21st century, the food to avoid now they say are carbohydrates. And again, it's, you know, it's one of those things, it's a fad type of thing. It's sort of like a smoke and mirrors. Will you lose weight if you cut off carbs entirely? Yeah, actually you will. It's a very short-term type of deal. You lose a lot of water, so that's the only thing. Because every time for every gram of carbohydrates you eat, your body sort of stores close to 3 grams of water. So what happens if you cut that, obviously the carbs are gonna, your weight is gonna go down, but it's very short-lived. And you're gonna hear so much stuff, carbs does A, carbs does B. If you take this out, you'll have your gastrointestinal system will thank you for that. Listen, straight talk here. Do not listen to the hype. This stuff is driven by studies, or probably mostly financed by food companies, and it's a scare tactic. So as I said, 20-30 years ago, industry said no fat because of A, B, and C, so you stop consuming fat, doesn't matter, right? People got fatter anyway. Nowadays, people want to cut carbs, same difference. So it's, just a same tactic, just using a different thing. So bottom line is all this: just eat moderation, or just across the board. You can have your carbs, you can have your fat, you can have your protein, a little bit of everything. I mean, we're designed to eat plants, we're designed to eat meat. That's just the way evolutionary how we've been. So again, also you have the paleo diet, which is, they say that we want to eat close to how our ancestors did, sort of the hunter-gatherer type of stuff. So if we eat in that manner, not only will our bodies physiologically be a lot stronger, because supposedly our bodies are meant to consume and eat that way. Again, that's another fallacy too, because quite frankly, if you look way back, research has shown that regardless of where you were in the world, you had people, sort of cavemen who lived on this side of the world, they ate what was provided for them. The other side of the world, they ate what was provided with them. So you had on this side, people ate plants. You had this side of the world, they ate seals, they ate fat. So it depends. So to be general and say, you know what, you have to cut this because we're part of our ancestry, that's another BS. So again, it's very simple. Just keep it simple. Let's see. Okay, one piece of advice regarding that before I let that topic go is, what I would advise to avoid is processed foods, period. So processed carbs, whatever you want to call it, obviously the chips. People always talk about white rice. You can eat that. That's fine. You talk about, let's see, what else is, they talk white rice, potatoes, eat that also, don't worry about that. So processed foods, processed carbs, processed fats also, that's the big danger. So maybe back in the day, they should have mentioned it's processed fats, not fats in general that you should avoid. And the big thing for all you people in the gym, you guys are having your protein shakes, listen, I want you to look at that tub. Where did that come from? It didn't come from a farm. No one fed it milk for that little tub to grow into that 5-gallon tub, right? So in other words, limit or avoid all the processed stuff and just eat whole natural foods. All right, so here's a good one. One of my clients actually brought this up to me the other day, and it's pretty pertinent in today's world and in today's economic climate regarding, okay, so Al, you tell me that I should eat certain foods, or actually in moderation, pretty much across the board, and but I find it's kind of tough on my wallet, because if I want to eat healthy and if I want to eat a certain way, it's going to cost me more if I go to the supermarket. And quite honestly, there's some truth to that. If you want to spend, I mean, look at McDonald's, right? They have the dollar menu. For $1 where you can have a whole big serious meal, but it doesn't do your body good. So the question was, how can I go about eating well without breaking the bank? And one thing you have to understand, and this goes back to the processing too, what I mentioned before, is the point, food industry, it's about I think nowadays like $1 trillion a year industry. That's huge. And it's cheaper products, cheaper way of making things, because they have to sell it to the market, to the consumer, which is huge. So this whole notion of food company and food industry going back to sort of the old school of providing food for the consumer, I'm sorry, that's dead. That's dead and gone. As long as the population grows, they will find a cheaper way to create these foods. And I say create because that's what they do. They may take a food, strip all the stuff out and put additives and stuff as a replacement. So, and yeah, so obviously you go on the shelf and you see something for, you know, here I can buy this processed meat. Yeah, this processed meat, you know, the biggest one is Spam, right? You know, $3 a can. But so if you go into the meat section and you want to buy some steak, it's, you know, $7, $8, $9, $10, $15 a pound or whatever. So, I mean, I can understand that. But to be honest with you, there are ways and strategies you can use to eat well and not have it kill your pocketbook. Fruits and vegetables pretty much should be a standard in anybody's food regimen. So, I mean, an apple is not going to kill you. You're saying an apple a day will keep the doctor away. It's, I guess, a truism. So, fruits, vegetables, potatoes, starches, you know, populations from all over the world has always survived on that type of food. Far East, you know, with the rice. I know in my country, my tradition, the Spanish culture, it consisted of a lot of starches. Rice obviously being the bedrock, beans. So when you think about it, it's not as expensive as you may think, but what you have to be aware is that you do have certain supermarkets or food chains saying, you know, we provide the organic, the best quality food at a premium. You got to sometimes be careful of that because you don't know exactly where that food comes from, because nowadays, even Whole Foods, the big one, is running through a lot of problems right now with labeling their foods as GMO, which is genetically modified. And the consumers made a big stink about it, rightfully so. They said, listen, if I go to your Whole Foods market, I don't know what's what. I don't know what I'm putting in my body, and I should have that right, obviously, but you're not disclosing what food has this. So at one point, Whole Foods said, you know, who cares, man? You're gonna spend your money up with me anyway. So they didn't bother, but they got pressured. But as we speak, I'm not sure, don't quote me, I don't know if it's the CEO or the spokesman for Whole Foods, actually has mentioned that, you know what, the majority of the foods are labeled as such. Not that they're going to put it on a package, it's just Whole Foods put it this way, Whole Foods and the big GMO company, Monsanto, are in bed together. So again, it's the same idea. So yeah, as a consumer, I know the choices probably get a little less in a sense as far as quality, but there is a way, as I mentioned, down to the basics, very basics way of eating. All right, so I hope that cleared that up regarding healthy and unhealthy foods. All right, this comes. All right, this next piece, I'm gonna just go from the diet aspect into the training aspect, and this is for my clients, Steven, Fran, let's see, Mike, a handful of people, and the reason why, because it's a very common question. And I just want to address this regarding the core. And this almost goes back to the subject of belly fat when I mentioned that diet is the only way to reduce that belly fat. So now the brother or sister of this particular comment of belly fat is core training. Core training is not abs. Let me just say, core training is not just abs, and I think most people make that misconception. So the core consists of about 22 different types of muscles. Obviously the abdominals, the obliques. You also have the back and the torso, hips, glutes. So you do have major muscles that consist of the core. So if one thing I can advise not to waste your time with is, as I said regarding the belly fat, crunches. They absolutely do nothing. one of the benefits of having a strong core, as they say, that core is a big buzzword now. The fact that the responsibility is stabilization. So it keeps obviously your body stabilized, internal organs, while you move through space. That's the basic function. And also internally, it's a way of expelling substances from your body, whether it's in the bathroom, whichever end. That's why when people go to the bathroom, they feel a lot of contraction. Yeah, you know what? Hey, that's a new concept right there. You want to work your core? Go to the bathroom a lot and get that pain. Or go to a comedy club and laugh your ass off. That's another way. You know, people grab their stomach. But again, the misconception is that you need to work your core muscles in different ways that will simulate human motion. So that can be bending, twisting, reaching, flexion. You know, where if I had the angle here in my hips, you know, when you come together. Or back extension. So those are a way of working the core. So one of the things, all right, so we talked about the function that stabilizes. Also, it aligns the spine, ribs, and pelvis. Yeah, as I mentioned, you train in all planes. So hopefully that will give you a little bit more clarity regarding what core training is. And when you say, well, what is it? What can I do? Listen, anything, like I said, matter of fact, when you're walking or running, you are working your core. It's keeping everything stabilized. And here's a cool little tip, actually observation. Athletes, football players, basketball players, anything that requires, even sprinters that require either explosion or moving quick through space, very short, you know, stop and go kind of thing. They never do anything regarding, say, well, I'm doing core training. They never do. The specificity of their sport dictates that they have to have the strong core. It's not like they work the core to play football. It's just the nature of the sport. So, I mean, you have a lot of these football players, wide receivers, which I guess a physical specimen, they say back in the day, not too far back in the day, was Terrell Owens. Phenomenal body, ripped, probably can get on stage and compete with any of the sort of physique men. Shredded, I mean, exactly, but that sport or his position dictated that. So again, without that, he wouldn't be a high level of function as an athlete. You look at the swimmers also. They have their washboard abs. It's not like they do these crunches or any sort of thing 50 million times a day. It dictates that. So that's something to keep in mind. You don't have to be a football player. You don't have to be a swimmer. You don't have to be a basketball player. But when you train in all different, train as an athlete would. And you will find out that your core will be extremely tough, strong, and will serve your body well. Actually, this one comes from my client Mike, and Mike had asked me regarding pacing during a workout, and that would consist of, obviously, if you're going into a gym, and how quick or how hard should I get it, because sometimes you may do a certain type of exercise or certain sets of exercise, you become winded. Should I calm down? I mean, there's a lot of variables. But the one thing is for sure is that I think in today's world, with the advent of CrossFit, most people feel that CrossFit is the end-all be-all. And CrossFit is an example of going all out, as they say, balls to the wall. For you CrossFitters, I'm sure you agree that your workout doesn't mean shit if you're not on the ground eating the floor by the time you finish, right? It's basically how you guys feel. And quite honestly, listen, is there a time and place for that? Of course there is. But to do it every single time, that mindset, it is so faulty. One of the big reasons that your body somewhere along the line is going to say, you know what, can't do this, injury, boom, that's what happens, you know. keep constantly pushing the body always to the limit is not a good idea. So in general, how hard you do it, yeah, there's intensity involved. There's no doubt. You shouldn't go into the gym or workout session mentally say, you know what, I'm just going to take it easy, which I see mostly in gyms. They spend a lot of time talking to each other, so I'm sure their vocal cords are pretty much like pretty tough. But you know, go in there with a purpose, but does not mean that you have to kill yourself. That is, put it this way, the whole idea of fitness or health in general is you want to be consistent. And for you to do balls to the wall 24/7 every time, you're not going to last. And then you'll say to yourself, I'm taking a day off. Day becomes a couple of days, a week off. It's become too tired. It's, you know, take little steps. Little steps. Plus, now I don't want to pick on CrossFitters only, but for the general, what I see also in gyms is that you have, maybe they want to simulate sort of the CrossFitters, but the same mentality where they get together and they willy-nilly, I guess you can call it. I have no clue what they're doing. They said, but you know what, I'm going to grab, I saw these guys do it, let's go balls to the walls. And again, it's faulty. You really need to know exactly your purpose. So that means not the exercises you're doing, not the circuits that you have that day, but the program. You know, what you're trying to accomplish, or what exactly is my purpose here. It's not, you know, I want to lift some weight just because I want to get big. That's why I would say 90, I'm going up there, 90% of people in the gym, don't know what they're doing, have no clue, and will not get the results that they want. Simple as that. It's a hard reality, a harsh reality, but the truth. For the most part, I think proper coaching, proper professional advice, assessing exactly who you are, what you are, where you want to be, can design a program for you. And money well invested in that, because at least it's designed for you. Go to the gym and you do what needs to be done. You're just not doing, you know, the workout of the day. Jeez, again, that's a phrase that CrossFitters use. I'm sorry, but anyway, bottom line is chill a bit. You know, you don't have to kill yourself. Okay, this one last thing comes from Laura, and Laura, I've trained. Just to give you a background, she was actually type 1 diabetic. She is. She's still with us. And that means her liver or pancreas cannot produce insulin to strip, you know, the sugar away from, the simple term, sugar away from the bloodstream to use in the muscles and the cells and things of that nature. So she had to be injected. And, you know, that's... When you work with somebody like that, it can be pretty daunting from my perspective, because you want, well, let me put it this way, people who do have type 1 diabetics and they're adults, obviously they spend their life controlling with their doctors, so they pretty much know what needs to be done, but the whole point is trying to find out exactly what their body will go through during exercise, which is something that you really got to be close monitoring them. It's communication extremely between, you know, you, the client, and also sort of doctor. But one of the things she mentioned when you're talking about diet, because obviously diet is one of the big things, whether you have type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And there were 3 concepts that I actually sort of came up with to make things simple for her. Because she wanted, I guess maybe she was looking for the magic elixir to lose the weight or stuff like that. And this is not only this is obviously directed for answering her question, but also for you guys in the general sense about diet. You know, the first concept is, you know, food should be a friend. Quite honestly, I think most people in here on this side of the world view food as some sort of stress. They think about food. They think about there's a world not famous. Anyway, a book that's bestseller called, eat this, not that. And for the most part, people on this side of the world, this is their mentality. It's a right or wrong. It's a good, bad. It's always one side of the world versus the other side of the world. You can have that, but you can't have that. That's very adversarial, in a sense. So when I was mentioning to Laura, there aren't foods to say that, this is bad for you, this is good for you. I try not to use that type of vernacular or those type of terms with her. Although it's hard for me because I'm always surrounded that. But for most part, people, it's hard for them to grab their minds around that concept. It's not a good or bad thing. It's not that. Food is food. It's something as I said, as a friend is there for you. It doesn't cause you stress. Don't be so passive about it either, that you have control. So in other words, food is for enjoyment also. As I mentioned in my culture, the Spanish culture, food is a centerpiece for community. Basically, we don't sit around and say, my God, what do you have pernil, which is pork? I can't eat that because I'm going to gain, it doesn't fly. From my mother's generation, my grandmother's generation, that is the biggest insult. So in other words, it's part of an enjoyment, a celebration, and food brings everyone together. I mean, it's a centerpiece between two people, a group of people, a whole nation. Take I wrote also a blog post on this regarding the Mediterranean diet, which they say is just the right diet for you. So Mediterranean diet also, their mindset is totally different from us in this side of the world. They don't view food as adversarial or right or wrong. They have, the fat. They have everything. They have their wine and all, but then they have the lowest incidence of heart disease. So they have a positive relationship with their food, which is the first concept. Second concept is when it comes to weight management, diet needs to be a priority. You just can't go and say, I'm going to hit the gym 4 or 5 times a week, and that should be all. It doesn't work that way. One of the most difficult challenges that I have as a fitness professional is to convince my clients that it's great that you guys come in here and we train. That's part of the equation. But then the even greater equation on the other side is proper eating, and that takes time, it takes discipline. That's the reason why I give people a book, put pen to paper, but it's a process. I wish I knew at the top of my head, and most people ask me, can you give me a diet, and they're expecting a sheet of paper and say, here, eat this. That's a disservice. I can't do that. Take a tip. Whenever you are with people, professionals who will give you a piece of paper and say this is the diet to follow, walk the other way. They're just looking for your money. If they don't take time and say, listen, let's take time, evaluate your lifestyle, find out exactly what's going on, how you eat now, foods that you like, foods you dislike, see exactly what can be done, because the diet has to work for you, meaning that you have to be able to eat this day in and day out. Like quite honestly, I know for myself, I must eat the same 8, 10, 12, 15 foods. Always. But I don't say it as, oh my God, another piece of egg or another bowl of oatmeal. Listen, it's just, I don't waste my mind on that. I know what I want to eat, and I'm going to eat it day in and day out, and that's what it is. Number 3, the last diet concept. Actually, I just almost started getting into it. That the diet needs to stick, serves the body. One of my biggest influences regarding fitness and diet that really blew my mind, I would say the past 4 or 5 years, this gentleman from Canada. His name is Scott Abel, and it's Abel. And he was a professional bodybuilder back in the day, but he's let that go. And two requirements he mentions about diet, that it has to be sustainable. As I've been saying, it's something that you eat day in and day out, and also serves your body, meaning that what works for one person may not work for the other person. One of the things he mentions that he gets a lot, and anyone who's been in the fitness profession also gets, I've tried this diet and I lost 20 pounds and it worked, but I can't stick with it. Well, Scott Abel says, well, the diet isn't right for you, and that's so true. So I want to give a shout out to Scott Abel. If you get an opportunity to go to his site, scottabel.com, and you will get a plethora of information. And I'm going to say it right here, correct, research-based information, no BS. And a lot of stuff that I communicate to you, I've learned through him. So again, scottabel.com, great site, read a lot of his articles. And so those are basically the three concepts, right? Your food is your friend. Make diet a priority, because you cannot out-train bad nutrition. And diet needs to be sustainable, so stick to that one, and it needs to serve the body. So that's a wrap. Well, Laura, thanks for. I hope that answers that. Have a good day.